Welcome to the third episode of Tea and Talks. We will be your three hosts for the day.
Hi, I'm Omema. How are you? I'm doing great, thank you.
Hi, my name is Imaan.
And I am Lina.
So today we'll be talking about the pressure that students get from education and the impacts on the students.
And the avenues from which they are derived.
Yeah. So personally, I think that the expectations of students is way too high. They're expected to do so many things that we automatically feel like there is no space for error.
Definitely.
No, I feel like we're just this. It doesn't help either that kind of the people, whatever, institutionalised education, they don't really help either. They just put continuous pressure and they build on that as well. And I feel like everyone's constantly stressing about how grades are just going to follow you around, and if you make one mistake, that constantly, go back behind you. But I don't really think that's fair, because it isn't true, and it puts that kind of pressure that if you do make a mistake, there's not other options, and that's it. And I feel like it's way too competitive.
No, I mean, that's definitely true to an extent, but I think at the end of the day, schools are in place to prepare us for adulthood, aren't they? And let's say when you're going to get the best indicator for your employer of your capability would be your grades. So what we do have to remember is, the world outside of school is going to be far more competitive. And for that reason, I think that the competition we have to face in school is actually beneficial, because, it gives us a taste of what is to come and allows you to prepare for that type of environment when you're older, but just in a much more controlled environment.
No, I see what you mean. Obviously, it does have its benefits, but I feel like kind of school years, they're kind of the most crucial parts of development. You temper with that and you mess around with that. That kind of haunts you until you grow up, and that stays with you. And I feel like in many regards, it only multiplies the effect, especially when you take into account how grades are made to be so important, that when you're an adult, either way, you're going to experience that pressure. So I feel like it's unnecessary to experience that stress at such an early age. And either way, if you're not going to experience that stress through school academics, you're going to experience it through another way. So I feel like it's too harsh how they just expect us to always do well.
I mean, I think that we do need exams, because it's a way that we can experience pressure at a maybe understandable way, maybe. But I think that for those who can't do exams and for those who can't who can't do exams and are unable to because of the pressure, then it's not really fair on them, because you're getting graded on what maybe you can't do, and maybe rather than what you can.
No, I feel like as well, exams don't work for them. For example, like you might have had a bad morning, or you woke up late, or you didn't have breakfast, or for whatever reason you just have a good day, and then you won't do well on that exam. And I feel like it's not really fair that just that one day determines whether or not you're going to succeed for the rest of your life. And I feel like as well, like when you're at the age of 16 to 18ish, there's so much pressure of you need to sort out what you're doing, and you need to know what you want to do. And I feel like it's not really fair, because you don't understand the world around you, and you don't understand what you want to do. And I know, like,
getting into understanding what even career paths and stuff, it can be very challenging. And having to pick up, for example, A-levels, we had a lot of stress personally. I think it's difficult when you have to, it's a lot of pressure, because you have to immediately decide, what am I going to take, what course of action am I going to follow, what do I want to achieve, and it is very difficult, I agree.
Especially younger, you're in that bubble, so then when you kind of just get thrown into it, you're just like, whoa, and you're scared that you'll wake up 20 years later and you'll decision and you feel like you've wasted all that time.
That's true. I mean, I think this is all completely dependent on, the situation and environment of each individual. Because like you said, was it institutionalised education, the way the system sets up? Is that what you said? What was it? No,
basically, I feel like just kind of in general, it's so much pressure on just a kid to do so well when they have, family, or they have extracurriculars, and they have so much other things to do. And obviously education's important. I think it's vital. Obviously you're not going to understand or navigate this world if you don't have education, but I feel like at the same time the way that it's been kind of introduced to us isn't completely fair.
Yeah, and I something in regards to the pressure and stuff, we need to keep in mind that, let's say we have, I think a lot of that pressure can come from even teachers and the way curriculums are designed. But you might...
Oh yeah, I know that obviously, like, we don't say, oh, it's all the teachers, because a lot of teachers do put a lot of effort in and they do go above and beyond the curriculum.
Definitely. My mother's a teacher herself, so I know just how much work they can put in and how much work lots of them do put in.
And a sister, give her credit,
my
Lina.
older sister and brother are also teachers, so they do put a lot of work into their jobs, yes. But I think it's not just down to teachers, it's also down to students themselves and parents, because I think, if you want to be able to address these issues, everyone needs to work together to help shape a better school environment, let's say. So I think for teachers, it means sometimes you need to, not, of course many of them do already, but for those who may not, it is important to sometimes go above and beyond that curriculum if it means you get to help the students under your care. And I think on the side of students themselves, we need to maybe learn to be more understanding and less judgmental and critical of our peers.
Like, a lot of people can be mean.
No, that's true. It's literally that. Very many people can be. And I think it's important to be able to empathise more and learn to be more understanding of people's situations. And going back to teachers, I think it's important for them to also, guide us more, because at the end of the day, teachers are there to guide us and help us make the right decisions. So really, none of us should have to purely on our heads to make such a hard and fast choice, such as your career paths, especially when you should have the opportunity to consult the relevant adults who, would have that experience. Because I think in terms of picking your subjects for A-levels and stuff, none of the decisions that we may think are extremely crucial could be as truly binding as we perceive them to be. And I think when you can speak
So
when you've got that opportunity to speak to experienced adults, they'll be able to, put things more into your perspective and help clarify things for you.
I think as well as being able to talk to teachers, another positive is that you can, if you do have a good social group and good friends, you can, obviously I think that is a step forward, which is positive, because I think when it comes to results and things like that, if say you don't do as well as one of your friends, I think that kind of gives you motivation and that kind of boost to try harder and just put a bit more effort into it.
Yeah. Rather than, for example, if your circle isn't that positive, you may be even mocked or, oh, you didn't do that well, and it can make you feel very down. But as Imaan said, when you have a more positive circle, then it can be more uplifting rather than, rather than cause you to kind of feel very deflated.
Yeah.
No, I feel like as well, obviously it's hard sometimes when you're in a school setting to actually find genuine friends, because sometimes you just
go along.
You just get what you dealt, and I feel like that's difficult sometimes. But as well, I feel like that old-fashioned stigma of kind of like popularity or whatever it is, and I feel like I didn't really believe in it either, but when we were kind of compiling like the information for this week's show, we realised it actually does happen in a lot of cases. For example, people may feel more left out or not as much included, and actually I feel like Imaan should talk about this one, since she's Miss Popularity and all her friends are watching this.
Go on, take the stage.
What's your question?
Okay, what is my thing? Wise one. What exactly determines whether or not someone's popular? What makes them popular?
Lina, take notes.
Actually, wait, hold on.
I mean,
this is an interview, give us a second. What would you say is the contributing factors towards the development of popularity, and why do schools still have that, what was it, old-fashioned stigma, to want to be part of these social groups? Let's hear.
Well, I think many factors, like say how much money someone's got, or their looks, or confidence, or appearance, and just being loud even. And I think that people...
Be loud.
Wait, do you fit in these categories?
That's my own personal thing.
Anyway.
Anyway.
She's getting shy in front of the camera.
Yeah, she's not usually like this.
So I do think that people do want to be accepted and they want to be socially noticed. This is why people maybe want to be popular, or I don't know. Yeah.
Also, how is the word? Because we've been arguing about this for like 3 days. Is it cliques or is it cliques?
It's cliques. We are not American. It's cliques.
Can you please comment it, because I'm actually sick of it. It's
clique.
It's click.
It's clique.
It's clique.
Have you seen High School Musical? It's click.
That's American.
Anyways,
That is
Don't
American.
watch High School Musical,
So-
watch Tea and Talks.
Yeah, I
Yes.
feel like the moment that you're excluded or the
Back on
moment
topic, are we? Sorry,
Yeah.
carry on.
you shift off too much.
That's quite a jump.
The cat's not here this time. He was meant to replace you
I
this
was
week.
supposed to be.
Anyways, but I feel like the moment that you excluded or the moment that you feel maybe more or less alone, that's when people kind of start to prey on your weaknesses and target you, and that's how kind of the idea of bullying may start to occur.
I think bullying, I do think bullying is a lot more complex than that, because, you know, I think generally the perception of the bully is very typically large, mean and intimidating.
You would know a lot about that one.
I would actually, that's true.
You're not,
But the reality,
not
however,
told that.
tends to be quite different. I'm just going to ignore her now. Because, you know, if you look at studies, or recent studies, and even studies that have been taken from a while back, it tends to show that statistically, bullies have more or less experienced some form of trauma in their lives, namely in the last 5 years or so. And adding on to that, in fact, 1 in 3 bullies, I believe. 1 in 3. I think it was 1 in 3, but you can't talk when they're here. No
She keeps
focus.
looking at me. Can you stop?
Okay, carry
I think
on.
if we just have the camera focus on me, then that will be fine. As I was saying, I believe 1 in 3 let me my train of thought, but 1 in 3 bullies are reported to have said that their parents or guardians did not give them any attention when they were growing up, and they didn't give them significant amounts of attention, and as a result, they then developed feelings of rejection from the people who are supposed to love them unconditionally. Along with that as well, bullies are also more likely to come from violent households where they have either witnessed or had first-hand experience with lots of arguments and hostility.
I think there is a lot of evidence indicating generally lack that security, and I think that this bullying could be a symptom of having, low self-esteem.
Yeah. And
That's
self-confidence.
why you're
even.
so mean.
I'm literally not me. What?
No, but I do kind of like agree with that. I feel like the more that you feel, you know, maybe alone, that's when, I don't know what I'm trying to say, I've
The more
completely
you feel-
blanked.
The more you feel alone, or the more that you feel not as valued, you tend to want to. Some people do have at that outburst, isn't it? Lots of the time it's negative, and it's unfairly taken out on other people. I think that's. But I think moving on from that, the ramifications of bullying is definitely very huge,
Oh, definitely.
especially when it occurs for extended periods of time and it's an ongoing cycle. Right?
Yeah, I feel like that kind of stimulates things as depression or anxiety, or, you know, just overall decreased academic performance, or it may kind of shift your routines, for example, your eating habits or sleeping patterns, and you don't tend to kind of think of them anymore because you kind of lose interest in everything else.
I think that's the thing with bullying, because it tends to leak into almost every other facet of your life, and in many cases people are with absolutely nowhere to go and no one to turn to. And I think it doesn't help either that, you know, the people who are bullied may then go on to bully others as a result of their own experience, because with bullying it can be quite a vicious cycle, can't it? Because you will have, if people aren't able to overcome that experience and, you know, be from it, then what may happen is they will retain those feelings and then
Retaliate.
you know, what's the word? Kind of.
They'll deflect it, and
Yeah,
they
they'll deflect it
themselves
onto
might
other
become a
people.
bully.
Yeah,
And
but
then,
what can we as students actually do to overcome that?
well, I think for that, the first step should always be your social surroundings, because I think with things like this, a positive sphere of influence is definitely key.
Yeah, I feel like as well, either way you will have that gut feeling. If you're not surrounded by people who may have the best kind of input in your life, you will kind of, you know, you will probably feel it. Whether you choose to follow it, that's a different thing, but don't neglect that thought. And I feel like kind of the number one rule as well is don't go through bullying in silence. If you feel like you may be feeling attacked or you're not, don't, is that a word? Don't devalue your own kind of feelings, because in the end of the day, if you're not feeling like you're treated well or you're being respected, then do something about it. And I know saying, oh, talk to someone, that we could just be saying that and you might not actually do it, but if you don't, it will just continue, it will stay constant and nothing will change. And even though it may not look like there's anybody there to talk to, there will probably be there will probably be someone to talk to, and as well as that, I feel like I'm completely blank.
Okay.
No, I feel like we get told quite a lot that if you see someone being bullied or you see someone not being treated rightly, do something about it.
Step in and help.
Yeah, but I feel like we think, oh, you're going to get targeted yourself, so you don't do anything about it. But if you are seeing someone that's not being treated rightly, and at the end of the day, that's just a person, if you speak up about it, what are they going to do that's that kind of going to have such a negative input in your life? How serious could that get?
Yeah. I think, to be honest, in many instances, adding on to what Omema said, you can address the situation simply by confronting the bully, but that's obviously if the situation is one where you're able to handle it on your own. Because as we mentioned earlier, as we mentioned earlier, bullies, they tend to hide behind this farcically constructed air of invincibility, so to speak.
Oh, jeez.
No,
it was just a lot of words in one go. I was like,
farcically constructed air of invincibility. But I think, when you challenge this, it can cause... I think she's still recovering, we'll leave her be. But, I think this can cause, the entire facade and act that these people intimidate others and, play the role of the bully. It can cause that entire facade to almost come crashing down like a shambles when they start to realise.
Just talking about experience,
Yeah, but if it doesn't, then what happens?
Then you go back to plan B and you tell someone.
Because sometimes it's like, if it's in a group, you're probably not going to confront them.
And I do want to add before we carry on, that in situations like that, please don't ever let someone else make you feel like whatever is upsetting you or whatever is hurting you, or whatever is offending you, isn't something to be offended over. Because I do know, I do know that in lots of instances this tends to happen, and people are made to feel like, oh, you should be getting upset about this, leave it. At the end of the day,
Like they're being over dramatic.
Exactly, but everyone is entitled to their own feelings, and everyone has the right to get upset about certain things or feel hurt about certain things. So if you are ever in that situation, please don't let someone down.
Jeez, that was so
It was.
God.
I have my moments.
Sure, yeah.
But
no, don't devalue your own.
Yeah, definitely don't devalue your struggles and stuff.
Get a bit of porridge, guys.
You're what?
Hot chocolate. Hot chocolate.
Hot chocolate.
Oh,
go get it.
Hot chocolate made. Sorry, I know that tea is here. There's something.
We don't. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I think
okay,
everyone can
I'll
tell
get
we
it.
don't drink the tea.
Yeah, but
Yeah, it's just for show.
speed it
If you didn't hear, last week.
So, but, yeah, as we said in the last show, this is purely for decorative purposes.
Yeah. It's cold as
Was
well.
it Cadbury or
It looks really
Maybe
nice
hot
too.
chocolate? You don't need to show them that.
Watch it drop them. Oh, thank you, Imaan.
You're
So
welcome.
kind. Hope you didn't make it.
Okay, we are on the schedule if you'd like to hurry up a bit. Thank you. Yeah, okay.
Come on, we need to wrap this up.
We're being told we have 10 minutes left. Let's carry on, shall we? But, okay, what's another thing that we should try to do then?
I mean, I think that another thing we should try to do is monitor our thinking and figure out when we are dwelling on the negative things or not in our lives and become aware of it. And I think this is important because this is what we need to move forward in life and to be able to achieve things.
Yeah, definitely. We need that positive mindset. And if you find yourself falling into a negative mindset and you find yourself constantly feeling negative emotions, then it's important to analyze why you're having those emotions and try and do your best to separate yourself from them. And if your best way to do that, would be to identify the cause. If you're able to, try and remove that from your life.
No, I feel like definitely kind of generation with social media and all of that, we experience a lot of stress and a lot of anxiety because that's enhanced it. And the reason that kind of our brain reacts to it is to have, I can't say this,
I don't think she knows where she's
fight,
going.
flight, or freeze. Yes, I got it.
Oh, fight, flight, or freeze.
Fight, flight, or freeze. It's a tongue twister, but, or maybe I'm just slipped. But, yeah.
Probably that one.
Fight, flight, or freeze response, or in other ways, just to completely shut down.
I think this is
And
the
I
time
feel-
when you should response. Sorry, carry on.
And I feel like in our day and age, instead of it being survival in a sense of, your life, it's survival in your mindset. And I feel like, wait. Sorry.
Yeah.
But I feel like anxiety also tends to kind of be disregarded as this sort of made-up thing, or generally just being over-dramatic. I mean, I thought that probably a couple of years back, but I feel like over time, taken into consideration, it can be so detrimental, and so it can have such a serious impact on people and on their own kind of overall well-being.
No, true, and I actually think that's something that's been really highlighted amongst the confusion of this current pandemic, because I think when people have been forced into seclusion like this, these psychological issues, such as the anxiety that people face, they may have previously only dwelt back in the minds of people. The more and more people are kind of stripped of that social interaction, I think the more these issues have slowly been drawn to the forefront of people's minds. And I think along with that anxiety, a lot of uncertainty is brought, and the outbreak of this lethal and very global pandemic has definitely caused a lot of us to feel very lost and confused.
Definitely. I've kind of been a really big roller coaster ride, followed like starting off with initial shock and just complete kind of confusion to the whole situation, and then maybe shift kind of an I don't really care mindset, or just completely accepting it.
So we actually have a question on Instagram. The question was, do you think social media magnifies cliques? What was the
other one? We just give up on the word.
I actually definitely do. I think, even if you look at movies and stuff, you'll always have the portrayal of these are the... so lots of the terms they use are very offensive, so I don't actually want to say them myself, but these are the people who...
because they may engage in kind of different things, or they go out more, they are seen as more dominant.
What I wanted to say is you'll have the images that are portrayed as, if you're someone who purely focuses on your work at school, then you're very...
Yeah, I know what you're trying to say,
yeah,
but
it's
not...
You become disliked. So they work too much, that they have no life, that's awful. And that you have that portrayal. Then you have the portrayal of people who are just... I don't know, people are always separated into these different groups, aren't they? And I think through social media, it definitely does amplify that entire facade and that persona that people are, people are shown. And
you label people.
Yeah. And a lot of the time you'll have people who will see these movies or read these posts or see these shows and think, oh, hey, that seems like what you need to do to be popular, to be, the next it thing.
Yeah.
So let's adopt that attitude, let's adopt that personality and mindset, and let's take that on. So I definitely do agree. What about you both?
Yeah, I agree with too, because it could be, say, I mentioned in our first, live show, it could be something like alcohol or drugs, because they're mostly in movies and films. They're the cool kids who are doing that.
They're always going off, they'll always show them going off.
Not even that, underage. Literally on just your own social media platforms, you'll kind of be sharing you maybe having that kind of time with your friends, and then you share that, and then other people get to see it, and then that kind of escalates further and further on.
And I think sometimes you might not even know it's having an influence on you, but it is.
Yeah, I think it's a unanimous answer from the host, really. We definitely think social media does amplify that whole persona of, different type of groups, and it definitely causes that to be portrayed a lot more, and people will, as a result, try and adopt everything that they may see on screen and think this is the way they should. And it's like taking it as a manual to follow, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we definitely agree with that. But sorry, where were we previously?
What were we
talking about the pandemic and confusion.
Oh, yeah, and I feel, what was it? Oh yeah, and then you kind of accept, the whole whatever's going on, because that was your normal, but then you may have moved on to being really productive for a couple of weeks, or maybe kind of gradually moved on to being quite depressed and feeling like you're in a depressed slump. For some reason, these because they used to keep laughing at the word slump. I don't get why.
It just sounds very funny to say.
Yeah, it's like amazing.
I think we've adopted.
Oh my god,
we've adopted that as one of our keywords now. Depressed slump.
Yeah, but I feel like kind of.
That's true.
No, but I feel like September is kind of seen as, where things are meant to fall and start.
My birth month.
No, we don't cut.
Okay.
We don't cut.
Right.
Okay. But the start of September is kind of, in the start of schools or work or whatever it is, everything's meant to go back how it was, and we're just meant to carry on as normal, and we completely disregard the impact that the last months have kind of had. And I feel like most people have kind of brushed off the last couple of months because either they've seen them as normal and they've just taken a day at a time and just accepted it, or they've seen it as an extended holiday. I've seen it as an extended
Definitely. I don't think she understands the concept.
I don't want to go back. I love lying in bed. Great.
That's why depressed lump. Anyway, so like back on topic anyway. So for like people watching, they're probably like, I know I'm worried, and Omema clearly is about going back to.
Because I've always been home educated.
Yeah,
so
I just want to stay in bed. It's so simple.
But actually, on that, sorry, I think due to the whole COVID-19 situation, lots of people have started to experience a bit about what home education could be like, I think. Because, you've got, people have been, of course there's been the online classes and such, but I think people have been given a slight taste, and not what it actually is like, but a slight taste of how home education is. So I just wanted to throw that in there, carry on.
Okay, I was saying that it's been literally different for all of us. Like, obviously high school students are returning back, like tomorrow or today, whenever. And then A-level students, they're just, they were confused because of the whole changing of the grading system. And then university people students, sorry, not people, I do respect you, but yeah. They're probably going to a time where obviously there's not many jobs and people have been...
Work doesn't look so great.
Yeah, people have been made redundant, so I mean...
Yeah, I think, and it's been a lot more strict and difficult, I think, with jobs and stuff, because there are a lot more policies and procedures that have to be followed due to COVID-19, and it's definitely a lot more tricky for people to be able to access those jobs.
Yeah, I feel like September's just kind of a pressured kind of change where you're meant to continue on as nothing happened, and I feel like it's not very fair to people who have maybe faced psychological trauma through these months.
No, I agree with that, and I think, the constant uncertainty that this is and brought upon us has made it very difficult to adequately prepare for every eventuality, but I do think that it comes down to what we've been stressing all along, and that is, the importance of reaching out to people and not bearing these burdens alone. If you are experiencing any anxiety or any worries, you can just talk about it. Now, we spoke last week on the implications of social media, and I think that's very applicable to this current situation now as well, because no matter how dire the situation, there will always be people for you to speak to. And I know you want to say helplines.
Oh yeah, I mean, I thought you were saying it.
No, you wanted to say something before.
She just wants to carry on her burdens to me, but no, I feel like obviously sometimes the helplines, maybe people around you may not take them as seriously, or they might kind of take the mick out of them, but in the end of the day, in the end of the day, are there to help. That is what they've been set up for, and without them, a lot of people wouldn't kind of have built up that confidence.
And obviously, us as hosts, we would recommend speaking to your parents if you do feel any kind of anxiety, or if you feel like you're being bullied and things like that.
Friends and family should always be your first port of call, but it's only if this isn't possible for any reason, then you should, look for the other options and the other helplines, such as the NSPCC, etc.
Yeah, I feel like when you confide in people, that's definitely the safest option and the most reliable. But I feel like self-care is also quite critical, and
yeah, she knows all about self-care, believe me.
Lying in bed all the day, yeah, sounds like it.
With anxiety or stress or whatever, self-hygiene, take a shower, which Imaan should have taken one today.
This sister texted me saying she stinks this morning.
I'm joking, Imaan. Calm down. God. But I feel like...
Sorry for exposing you.
The fact that you have my sister's number worries me a bit.
That watch coming to me last week.
It's true, I'm sorry.
My watch is perfectly fine.
She bought two.
She got 2 new ones.
She felt like she had to, You peer pressured her.
No, it was a gift actually.
But I feel like in general we need to kind of, take care of ourselves a bit more. Don't disregard yourself. I feel like we constantly cater to other people's needs, but we don't cater to our own. So if that means going for a walk, having a bath, I don't know, watching a film, or
even in Omema's case, lying in bed all day.
Yeah, take a nap, bro. Like who doesn't want to take a nap? I love taking naps. God.
Okay, I think we're reaching our time now.
Yeah.
But before we conclude, just to summarise, Imaan, summarise, please.
Let's
Maybe
see the
you've been
summarise, please.
listening. Come on. So, I think what we've
I didn't see that coming.
what we've
Anyway,
learned from today's show is speak to people. And yeah, Lina, do you want to carry on?
Okay.
No,
Well,
I think
what we want to stress from this show is that, you know, although there are lots of educational pressures and you can have lots of pressure within the entire academic system, it's important to understand that it's first, they're not impossible to overcome. Secondly, always, if you are feeling that stress or you're concerned about which path you're going to pursue or what course of action you should follow, speak to the people who have that experience in those matters, such as your teachers or even your parents or any relevant adults. And then,
Do your research, yeah.
yeah,
I'll
and
definitely
I
say
think
do your
in
research.
terms of popularity, there are lots of stigmas that are attached to popularity.
Maybe ask Imaan, she'll help out on that
Yeah.
one.
Just message her. It's okay. You can use tea and talk. She'll
Don't
tell you all
mind.
about that.
I'm
And
joking.
also, with bullying, it's important to understand why bullying occurs and try and understand, you know, and identify the reasons behind it. Because once you identify the cause of something, it helps you come up with a solution to overcome it. And another thing we wanted to stress was always value your own feelings.
Be
And always-
more aware,
yeah,
generally.
be aware of what's going on and give yourself that
Kind of
give your-
space to breathe.
Yeah, and always take care of yourself, because when it comes down to it, if we don't take care of ourselves, how can we expect other people to? If
Oh,
we don't look out
jeez,
for
that was
ourselves,
so deep.
yeah,
God.
we can't expect others to. But I think we'll wrap up now.
Because
And-
we're being pointed out to like finish us
Yeah,
off.
we were.
So.
We were given
I don't think you meant to
suggestions,
say
means
that, but
wrap it up.
okay.
But we will hopefully see you next Wednesday
At 7
p.m.
o'clock.
Have a
And-
nice evening, guys.
Yes,
Yeah.
and
If you want to
thank you
DM
for
us, it's
watching.
fine. Lina won't reply.
I will
don't
reply.
just reply to them. I
Like
promise
that.
you it's not personal. But we hope to see you next week. Thank you for
Alright.
watching, as always.